Yo, what is up, YouTube boxing family? It is K-Rod here. I'm back at it with another good video for you guys today. Alright, so this video is going out to all you female YouTube boxers, per se. I wanted to just give you guys a word of criticism because I don't think most of you women can fight, but let me just, like, bring out a bold message to all you female fighters that are trying to like act like you're a fighter off of a non-certified win technically, or just women that are just getting into YouTube boxing that think that they're the ultimate badass for being such a good fighter, beating a nobody or beating a social media star per se off of any non certified win per se. Most of you are trash. That's number one. That's not to be disrespectful for the sport of women's boxing. I give a lot of love and credit to all the hardworking females out there, like Amanda Serrano, Clarissa Shields. I mean, Katie Taylor. I mean, I can give her props for being a good, decent fighter, but as far as legacy goes, there's really nothing good out of her own legacy. It's just a manufactured legacy. But as far as giving her credit for being, a decent, opposition for her to, sustain in her career the way she is, yeah, that's a really good, credible woman to have in your life. I think, honestly, when it comes down to it, women's boxing is definitely, it's slightly growing. I don't think it's actually growing exponentially high. I think women's boxing is still in the rebuilding stage, and that's just my honest opinion on it. I just don't think women are really there yet in terms of like where they need to be to somehow be on this, or to maybe be on the same scale with men. I think that's the problem that I'm trying to get with, because the issue is that women, they are good with what they're doing now, but when you look at the YouTube boxing scene, I don't think a lot of women are really that good at boxing, because most women don't like to fight. That's just that's just like the nature of the beast, when it comes down to just boxing in general. But when I look at women's boxing, it's good that women are trying to consider other girls to get into it, but for girls that are just doing it just to look good on the cameras and just go in there to act like that, oh, I'm gonna knock this bitch out, blah blah blah, no, just stop. Those girls, I'm not a fan of seeing that, because one, boxing is a very dangerous sport. You can easily get killed off of one punch. I've seen people at the gym where, shit does not look sweet, and, certain people have had their nose broken just off of sparring in general, and I've seen it, at the gym. Some people may think I'm crazy for saying that, but, it's true, like, I've been in the ring, and I can say it out of my own experience. I've dealt with people in boxing that don't play around. Like, these people that you see on television that do YouTube boxing, most of them don't box. Like, Tom Zanetti, like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, he does not have any certification of becoming a fighter, but the fact that he has the ability to fight, Slim Albahar, who, like, he's like a decent fighter himself, but he at least has like a team around him that gets him better to make him a good fighter. Like, if you guys know what I'm talking about, like, I'm basically saying that when you get into boxing, you have to be really, really dedicated to the sport. Like, you can't just have one foot in, one foot out. Like, to me, that's like going into any militarized unit in any, status, politicized army, where you think that, everything's all funny and just comedy walking into, the military, and the minute you get sent out to the battlefield, you're going to, have every single bit of like emotional flare-ups where you're going to end up getting yourself killed because you're not mentally and physically prepared to handle those situations when you're, in the art of combat, or more so the art of war. So furthermore, when it comes to boxing, that's how I see it. It's like boxing's like preparing for war, but it's also preparing for the ring of fire. And what I mean by the ring of fire is that you have to have a certain type of mindset coming into any, you know, like, I would say to any physical altercation per se, where you have to be ready for anything that happens. And if you're not ready for it, then you're going to basically break, because that's what, boxing is. Boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical. That's just how I see it. Some people may think that's not true, but I see it to be true. Boxing is a very destructive sport. Not a lot of people want to be honest about that. I think, honestly, when it just comes down to it, if you're not ready to put yourself in that mindset of being a dog in the ring, and you actually, risking your life to be successful, um, that's just going to get you hurt, and you're going to get brutally knocked out in the sport. Because, like, to me, when I first got into boxing, I started at 24. I'm 27. I'll be 28 in April. But from my own experience, I've been more, seasoned and being mentally strong, getting inside the ring, because I used to wrestle back in high school. Like, I forgot to, put that out there as well. But, you have to have like a mental fortitude getting in there, in the ring first. You can't just walk into the ring and say, oh, I'm just going to work the bag and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, you have to have a mental fortitude getting in there. And that's something that not a lot of people want to do. It's really hard and difficult to go out of your way and actually do what you say you're going to do. Like, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to, knock this guy out with like an uppercut, or I'm going to go in here and actually go to, go blow for blow with this person. Like, no, like, that's not how it, like, that's not how boxing is, is basically structured to be. Hold on. Give me one sec. All right, I'm back. So, yeah, back to what I was saying. For women getting into YouTube boxing, it's really best that you have like a proper structure behind you, so therefore you can be educated enough getting into the sport. When you get ready for that first fight, for your professional debut as a fighter, or just people that just want to get into the sport and just, try something new. Like to me personally, the main issue that I have is simply, the risk that women put themselves in. Because the thing is that when you think about it, a lot of them really operate on a very high demand, type of, a social media following. And I think due to their fan base, that forces them to think that, oh yeah, you can do this, you can get into YouTube boxing, go for it, you'll knock this bitch out, blah blah blah. Like, those people are the ones that, encourage women out of that stupidity to think that they can do boxing. But it's like, not everyone's cut for it, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, to me personally, at the end of the day, like, if you're going to get into boxing, you have to be serious about it. Like I said, I ran into a lot of good fighters. I can name a couple if you guys know them. I ran into Abraham Nova. That was like at least like my 5th or 6th day being inside of the gym. He just randomly walked up to me and, we naturally just conversated and we had a good time talking. And he asked me, what brought me here, and I said that I got inspired to, get into boxing, and here we are, still talking to one another. But I mean, like, for fighters like that bring you up in the gym, like, those people are the ones that you should always have as your role models heading into the sport, not guys like Jake Paul or Logan Paul, because at the end of the day, they're not real fighters. They're just, they're showcasing fighters. These are, paparazzi driven fighters that, like, basically, I just call them like attention seekers. They're attention whore seeker fighters. That's really who they are. Obviously, Logan, he doesn't fight no more. I think he does WWE now, but I mean, even when Logan was doing boxing, like, you can clearly tell, like, he wasn't focusing on the sport. Like, he even said after his recent, fight with Floyd Mayweather, in which he got beat up real bad, he's like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna go out and start drinking and partying. And I'm just like, okay, like, you clearly, like, you clearly admitted that you didn't prepare yourself physically and mentally hard enough against Floyd Mayweather, and then on top of that, you clearly show that you have no discipline coming into the sport. So, for women's boxing, it's the same thing. A lot of these women get into boxing because they have a major interest in competing, for the wrong reasons. Like, they think that for some weird reason, you can just get into the sport and think that nothing bad's going to happen to you. And, that's not how boxing is. Boxing is a very unforgiving sport, but on top of that, it's a very destructive driven sport. You can't tell me that you want to get into the gym and then you are some social media queen star or queen, like, I don't care, like, whatever the hell that they do, but social media influencer, attention seeker. That's really what I call them. But, like, those people are cancerous, for the sport. Like, if you're just going in just to, flash out, like, your body to the public, and, you're trying to make yourself look, attractive in the ring, like, that's not going to help you win a fight. So, I mean, case in point, you could see it right now with all the fighters like Elle Brooke, Faith Ordway, Ashton Wett, all these women that don't have any business to be in the ring other than just run their mouth on social media and act like as if that, they could throw hands. But it's like, in all honesty, they're not good fighters. Like, none of them are. I mean, granted, like, I understand, like, I'm, overreacting on people that are not good, and there's no need to give any promotional attention to them. But at the end of the day, this needs to be called out. And I'm just basically sending out this message to all the female YouTube fighters, like, none of you are going to be good if you're just going to be fighting each other, and therefore you're not improving in the sport on top of it. Like, obviously, we could just go back and forth saying that, oh, well, what makes you think women can't do this or can't do that in boxing? No, it's not about, if women can fight or not. It's about looking out for the health and safety of females that are putting their lives out there for the sake of being a entertaining, for the sake of becoming a entertainment, attention seeker. That's really what it is. Like, I mean, I could be wrong on that, but the problem is that women's boxing is not doing good. Like, as far as, on a casual level, I don't, like, put it like this. If you're out with your girlfriends, and for all you women out there that probably are listening to this, you guys don't think about going to a boxing match. Let's be honest. More men are interested in seeing a boxing match than women. If you go out to any part of the world and you go ask at least 1,000 women, hey, there's a boxing match going on, would you want to go? They'll either say yes or no. And for the most part, on average, most women don't like boxing. I mean, it is true, if you have like a man in the situation to say, hey, Clara, would you want to go to this boxing match with me and my friend Tom? We're going to go see this really big fight over here in, the Madison Square Garden. Would you like to come? Like people like that, they'll always show up with men that are interested in boxing to see the fights. But if you're saying it from a casual perspective that women are naturally interested in boxing, that's not true. Because the average woman does not take time out of her day to go think about boxing. She's more interested in looking at other things to do, like go to, I don't know, some, female related, event that's going on. Or she would rather go watch a movie, with her friends and, probably, talk about some stuff that, they want to talk about. Or they could go to some, I don't know, beauty salon or whatever. Like, I'm just putting that out there to say that the natural traits of what women go through is more, heavily revolved on women wanting to be interested to do what they want to do on their own downtime. But when it comes to sports, most women, as far as, American women, and I probably say women from Europe, they don't think about boxing. And for the most part, sports are either mostly centered around American football or basketball or soccer. But I mean, soccer is more popular in Europe, but I'm just bringing that correlation together to show that when it comes to women's boxing in general, most women do not think about boxing. And for women that get into boxing, it's really hard for a woman to go out of her way to compete when not many eyes are on the females yet. And all I'm saying is that for women like Faith Ordway and Elle Brooke and all these crazy ass women going out there risking their lives for nothing, and all you're doing is creating a publicity stunt for the fact of you thinking that you're just the ultimate badass getting a non-certified win, that does not make you good. But on top of that, the reason why it's there is because that the best are not fighting the best consistently. For men's boxing, at least. I mean, for women are, like, the women, they're doing good. I'm not saying that, if women want to compete, they shouldn't be able to compete at all. No, if you want to compete, that's fine. But boxing needs to be a high barrier to entry to restrict people from getting into the sport to try to rob the bank, to rob the fans, because that's really what these boxing events are. If you're going to have a real professional record, you should be facing up against other professional fighters. But if this is a exhibition, it should be a exhibition bout. But all I'm saying is, like, you see in basketball, okay, there's charity event, games. Everyone's fine with that because no one doesn't care about the celebrities that go out there for a charity, basketball event. But when it comes to boxing, you do see celebrity boxing, don't get it twisted, for men, because men will always come out of their way to have those good fights every now and then. But on top of that, for women, there's no women out there that really come out of their way to fight. And all I'm saying is that when it comes to the barriers of entry at the professional level, there is very little, or if not no barrier to entry for boxing. That's really what it is. For basketball, football, baseball, soccer, all those sports have barriers to entry. You can't just walk into the NBA, corporate office and say, hey, I want to play my very first ever NBA professional game. No, it does not work like that at the men or female level. You have to either try out or go to college, and then if you're potentially selected for the draft, combine, or to be drafted in the league, right off of, the gate, then that's how that's how you get your spot. But all I'm saying is that when it comes to female boxing, like, women are putting themselves at massive danger, where you guys have very little experience just by looking at all of you. And on top of that, most of y'all don't even commit yourselves well. And I mean, all I'm saying is, like, as a man, like, I don't want to put my money to go see women fight if they don't know how to fight. Like, I'm just keeping it real. Like, if you're not, comfortable and you're not mentally and physically prepared to fight, that's what's going to make me scared as a fan and as a man to look at women fight each other for the sake of being retarded, because that's not healthy for the sport. And on top of that, it makes up the sport, have like a black eye on it, because it's like what you're saying is that you want to become a fighter, but your dedication and your commitment to the game is just not there. And I mean, here's my message to, like, women like Faith Ordway and Elle Brooke. Like, I'll talk about Elle Brooke because she definitely needs to get heavily heavily criticized. She is not good by being with Ebony Bridges. I'm gonna say that one more time. Ebony Bridges is not a fucking trainer. That's number one. Number two, she's a piece of shit person in real life in the sport of boxing. Not just because of what she says in boxing, but it's more like what she says politically and economically outside of boxing. But it's more like her personality is really fucking like, it's very snobbish, it's very evil, it's not even smart. Like, you have women like that in your corner, that's not going to help you grow as a fighter. See, now with Faith, what she should have done, she should have never went out with Jake Paul and his weird corny ass group of people. BJ Flores, like, yeah, like, by the way, BJ Flores, he was a MMA fighter, and then he did boxing. He did not do boxing first, just to put that out there. He was a MMA fighter. That's number one. And on top of that, he's not a good trainer. He does not train anything good that makes anybody think, oh, hey, BJ Flores, man, he's good, man. He be training world champions, man. When has he trained a world championship level fight? When has he trained any fighter going to the top 10 in their division? The answer is none. Because you wanna know why? Because he's not a boxing trainer. He's using Jake Paul for the sake of using him for the sake of money. Because if you wanted a real trainer, to Faith, this is a message to her, you would have you would have seeked out Derek James, you would have seeked out Coach Nelson Rodriguez out of Florida. Shout out to Coach Nelson. You could have seeked out multitudes of trainers. Ronnie Shields. You could have seeked out Nacho Beerstein. You could have seeked out like Joe Goosen. He's out in California, right? You could have easily seeked him out, but no, you didn't want to seek out those trainers because you really thought that, oh, well, this is like my probably like a one and done fight in boxing, but if I just go with Jake Paul and their group of people, at least I'll be cool doing it. No, you're not doing anything cool. What you're doing is basically hurting yourself, putting yourself in danger, and then on top of that, I didn't even like agree with the stoppage that the referee did. That was like absolutely, disgusting and fucking disrespectful. For Faith not to get the benefit of the doubt of trying to regain her bearings while she didn't have any defense against Elle Brooke. But still, like, these women are going to get themselves brutally hurt, simply for the fact of them not being defensively responsible. Number one. And number two, they're not seeking out the right trainers that are getting them ready. Am I saying that you should go with any trainer in boxing? No, you should not. When you get in there, you have to be educated coming into the sport. That's how it should be. It should not be, hey, let me get into boxing. I just feel like doing it one day, but then I'm not going to, I'm not going to do it anymore after I take my first fight. No, you have to be dedicated to the sport of boxing. You should never seek out help or seek out any, advice from guys like Logan Paul or Jake Paul. They're not going to get you ready for a fight. These are fucking douchebags that don't care about the sport of boxing enough. Because if they did, they probably would have told Faith to say, hey, how about you go see Derek James or seek, any good trainer now in boxing. Like, those people would definitely help you. Versus, like, if you did any work with, Jake Paul's team, like, you're not getting any better. Like, that's basically what I'm saying. Like, you're putting yourself at risk, simply for the sake of, you potentially getting hurt. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Faith, but I mean, it's different, for Elle Brooke or any other female that tries to watch this. But all I'm saying is that if you women want to get good at boxing, what you have to do is that you have to stay dedicated to the sport, and you need to have a good trainer that actually cares about your regiment as a fighter. Don't go with people that you think that would be good for your corner just because that they're like associated with your neighborhood or whatsoever to your development in the sport. Because being with those fighters doesn't make you look any better. Because more so what it does is that all you're really doing is that you're trying to think that you could have something good for the sport by being with like a world championship level fighter. Or to say the least, if you think that being with a fighter that doesn't have a good reputation in the sport helps you become a good fighter, that's not true. being with the Ebony Bridges, that's not a trainer to begin with, and on top of that, she gets hit enough to the point where she's not like a good role model for any fighter to look at, as far as trying to study her fighting style as a fighter from her. That does not make you good. Like, I'm just putting that out there. Like, there's like a reason why fighters that are not good and can't train, they usually don't end up becoming good fighters. But if you're like a Derek James, who wasn't like the best fighter in boxing, but he ended up becoming one of the greatest trainers now in boxing, that's a good trainer to have, because he actually put in the time and effort to become like a good trainer. And all I'm saying is that if you want to have progress in the sport of boxing, you need to seek out trainers that actually do care about your for one, they care about your career, and two, they care about your well-being as a fighter. And that's all that I'm really saying. Like, if you want to be successful in boxing, you should really you should really seek out a trainer that looks out for your well-being, because being with people that are just there for the publicity and people that use you as a fighter for simply just getting money, that's really what it is. That's not good for boxing. That's not good, because what's going to happen is that one of these days, like, some girl's going to get herself killed, for simply thinking that she can actually be successful. And then it's like, once she gets beat, by somebody that, arguably beat her brutally, then that's what's going to get somebody killed in one of these fights. And that's all that I'm saying. Like, I don't want to spend my hard-earned money to see somebody get killed in the ring, because that's what happens in boxing. If you're not educated in the sport on defense, you're going to get yourself knocked out, and on top of that, you're going to brutally kill yourself. Because I've personally seen it in gyms where when people do spar, they don't play no games. People go in there to try to kill you in sparring. It's true. I'm not lying when I say that, but that's simply how boxing is set up. You can't tell me otherwise, because I've seen it at the gym countless times. I've seen people, like, literally fight so dirty in sparring for the sake of them making themselves look all good in sparring, but then it's like, once it's time for them to display those skills as a professional fighter, they're just not good. And that's why there's like a massive distinction between gym fighters and ring fighters, in which I should definitely make like a video on that. But what the case in point is that if you want to be good in boxing, you have to seek out the right team that's going to look out for your well-being as a fighter, so therefore you can succeed in the sport. So that's all that I'm really saying. I mean, I have nothing but respect for the women that actually do want to box, and for those that want to get good at the sport, good for you. But all I'm saying is that for any of you women that are wanting to do YouTube boxing or content creator boxing, like, I think, for instance, like women like Justine Minks, right? She's a good fighter. She has like a decent style, but she's not looking at boxing to be her end all be all. No. But the thing is like, the reason why she did boxing just for that one time was simply for the sake of her getting into, the sport, for the social media game. That's really it. She didn't get back into it right away, and I mean, rightfully so, because she wasn't doing anything spectacular, in her fight against, I forgot her name, Haley something. She was like some, American chick, but yeah, Justine Minks, she did her thing. She, she stopped her. I mean, it wasn't too much of a stoppage. It was more like a referee stoppage. That was a technical, that was a justified TKO, I would say. And she did her thing. She managed to put herself in there with the proper competition to be successful, and she managed to get the victory against an opponent that was at her level as a fighter. And all I'm saying is, like, if you want to be good in boxing, you're going to do anything you do, if you put your mind to it. And I mean, even for myself, like if I got offered to be fighting on Misfits Boxing, I would definitely seek out good trainers. Like, I would not seek out no bullshit trainer that works against my interests, because that's really what fighters go through all the time in boxing. You have trainers that are just like that, in the sport, where they're cutthroat. They will use you for whatever money that they could generate out of you, because that's what that's what crappy trainers do in boxing. They take advantage of you. And I haven't seen it personally myself, but you could easily tell, based off of like what some of these trainers do. It's all based off of what the certain principles that they go by, and when you look at how they operate, a lot of them are not really educated in the sport. I mean, yeah, some trainers are extremely educated. They really look out for their fighters, like guys like Coach Derek James, Coach Robert Garcia, obviously, which I'm not too sure about Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia, he's definitely on fraud watch, obviously, because he was associated with Margarito and other dirty actors in the sport. But I mean, when you look at really, really good trainers like Nacho Beristain, Derek James, Coach Nelson Rodriguez, coaches that are good by putting themselves in there with all the best coaches around them to be a better coach. Like, those coaches, I have a lot of respect for, because those guys, they put in that work to be good. And that's all that I'm saying. You want to have a coach that looks out for your well-being, and on top of that, they look out for your career to see how well you're going to move in the sport, because that's how boxing should be. It should be the best fight in the best, but on top of that, fighters should have the best trainers available for them to exceed their career. Because if you're going to get into boxing, you need to be dedicated in this game. I'm just going to say it one more time. If you're going to be dedicated in boxing, you need to be dedicated to the game. If you're not willing to do that, then that's how fighters end up getting hurt, because that's how boxers really put themselves in danger, or just people in general. Like, it's equivalent to everyday life. Like, if you're not going to be educated in the sport, then that's what puts yourself in a bad position to lose. And that's really all that I'm saying. Like, it's really just based off of how bad do you want it. If you are going to be successful in boxing, you have to, one, show up, definitely show up to the gym. And on top of that, you have to really study your style. You have to understand what your style is, work on it, work on defense. Number one, always work on defense. If you don't work on defense, then you're going to get yourself knocked out. And that's how fighters that are so novice at boxing end up getting hurt so quickly, because one, you're not moving your head, you're not working on the fundamentals. Like, if you don't work on these things at the gym, that's how you get yourself hurt and killed. That's really how I've seen it at the gym myself. And I will say, that's why there's like a huge distinctive barrier for fighters that are good and versus fighters that are not good, because for one, they don't work on the fundamentals, they are not educated in their play style or their fighting style to be responsible, and they fail to make those like adjustments when they don't want to listen to their trainers per se and actually get better. So that's like a huge issue that that like a lot of fighters get into, because what ends up happening is that you put yourself in a really bad position to be very unsuccessful. And the more you continue to make those mistakes and you don't plan to fix them, that's what gets you hurt in the sport. So I mean, either way, case in point is to all the women that get into YouTube boxing, just be educated in what you do, because that's really let the bigger problem out of let the sport. A lot of these females just choose not to be educated, coming into the game so novice. And I mean, if you're not working on your style and being educated in the game in the first place, then that's just going to cause you to lose. And I mean, that's really how these women end up putting themselves in grave danger, or just people in general. But I mean, that's why that you see some of the YouTubers like Salt Poppy and I'll probably say Slim Albahard. Like those guys have a good, decent style where like if you really worked with them more, they would be really, really good professionals because they're actually putting themselves, in a better position, to win. Because one, they're focusing on the fundamentals, and two, they're actually putting in that work to be successful. So, that the hard work pays off if you're willing to actually be with the right people to be successful. So, I mean, that's really all that I'm saying. If you don't want to, be successful in boxing, and you're trying to half-ass it, and you're not working on what you should work on, then your non-disciplinary focus in the in boxing is going to show. If you're not staying disciplined in the outside of the ring, then your weaknesses will show in the ring. That's how I see it. I mean, that's how I was taught from all the trainers that I spoke to. But yeah, like I just think either way, man, you just have to be focused. And if you're not focused, then you're going to put yourself in grave danger to lose. So, I mean, that's really how I see it. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. So, yeah, like I hope, to all you girls, that are listening, that are content creators, or just female fight fans in general, or female fighters that do listen to this. I think this is important to have a conversation about it, because obviously as a man, I'm just saying out of my own personal viewpoint that it's not right for us consumers, from the male side, to see women that are not good at the sport yet, that are novice, to get themselves hurt. And if you're doing it for publicity, and you're doing it for the sake of thinking that you're going to have a future when clearly you're not dedicated to the game, then you're going to put yourself in grave danger, and you're going to end up killing, yourself, or killing somebody for you doing something dumb. So I just think that's important to put this video out here, and hopefully people can actually understand it a lot better. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. For all the women that actually are grinding on the sport, keep it up. Much love to all of them. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, that's all that I have to say. So shout out to the mighty LDBC TWT, and I am out. Peace out and goodbye.